we have been trained in a way that benefits everyone else and not us.
Yeah, but no, you try to tell some people that, they will argue you down and say, America has the best education in the world.
We speak one language. Who am I to come to another country and to dictate how this culture should be?
But that's what the colonizer does.
And that's who we are. We're a tribe of people.
It's a different culture.
It's a culture. Culturally, we're different. And we have differences. You still can have shared community. There's no Black excellence. And for me, I hate it. And I don't think we realize how much we segregate ourselves in the same mentalities. I'm all about Black people.
Okay.
I only care about my culture. I don't believe that they have the capabilities of having humanity and care. So if that calls me anti-white, I'm sorry. Who's teaching your children?
Yeah.
Why can you come and to tell me what you're going to teach my child?
Special thanks to Abba Design, Fashion, and Luxe Beauty in East Legon, Accra, Ghana for being an official sponsor. Make sure you stop by Abba for all your trendy fashion needs, flawless manicures, pedicures, stunning hairstyles, beautiful braids, and so much more. Abba Design, Fashion, and Luxe Beauty, where style and beauty meet in perfect harmony. Welcome to Maximum Impact with Jay Cameron. Want to thank you for joining me again. And I know these conversations are inspiring you because I'm seeing all the comments, I'm getting the feedback, and today's conversation is going to be one for the books. This is going to be an epic conversation. All I can say is I'm here with serial entrepreneur, my sister, Jasmine Terry, all the way from H-Town.
All the way from Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas. We're here in Accra, Ghana right now. And Jasmine, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Now, you're in Accra, Ghana.
I'm here. Yeah.
But you're from Houston.
I'm from Houston.
Okay.
I'm from Houston, Texas. I was born in Houston. My family originally from Louisiana, my mother's side, but my lineage, legacy is in Houston. Houston, Texas.
Now, how did you become a serial entrepreneur? Because, I mean, it's...
So let me tell you, I'll give you a quick backstory.
Okay.
I think I've always had the cadence of being an entrepreneur. At the young age of like 5 or 6, I used to get in trouble from my grandmother because I would put apples and oranges and you know those caramel candies?
Yes,
peppermints?
I do.
Before you go to church and you...
Oh, yes.
Well, Jasmine would go and bring them to school to sell them. So whatever you wanted to give me, I had pennies, nickels, dimes, dollars. Until one day my grandmother said, well, there was a note in my folder and they said, please do not allow her to come to school and sell fruit and candy. And my grandmother was like, that's where my peppermints and fruits. I was slanging apples and candies at a very young age.
So that was the beginning.
That was the beginning. I've always enjoyed just to create my own. I come from a line of entrepreneurs. My grandmother was she was an accountant. She had a big sign in her yard. She did taxes. So numbers was a thing in my family with my mother's side. And I would watch her. I didn't even realize she was a loan officer in the neighborhood. So imagine in your hood, your neighborhood, I knew what 50 cents on a dollar was at a young age. And so when she would loan out money,
I was going to walk down this, 50 cents on a dollar.
50 cents on a dollar.
So 50% interest.
50% interest. And so I think sometimes her friends would be 25, but it was 50% on a dollar. And I remember when they would come and pay, there would be envelopes. And I knew I learned how to count by fives from dominoes.
Okay.
So my numbers was always a thing on my mother's side. And I was collecting envelopes and I knew that if this person borrowed $20, I knew with 50 cents on the dollar, Mr. Doc, this is how much you need to pay grandmother. So
it needed $10 more on top of that.
You had to pay it.
Yeah.
And if I didn't count it right, my grandmother would be upset with me because this was my learning experience. So, short story, entrepreneurship has always been a thing for me. I've been fascinated on how can I make money, creating things and receiving.
What was your first business?
Oh, my first business. I've had multiple businesses. My first business, I believe, in college, we started a modeling agency. A girlfriend of mine, let me go back. high school. We did high school parties. And I was...
I laugh because I used to do parties. That's all.
Listen, I've never been asked that. What was my first business? And I would say something like that because we did parties. So we were making maybe $1,000 from a party in high school. And so the idea of doing something and if there was a return, I was always excited by it and that I love to do. So I would say throwing parties in high school, rivalry parties, and then that trickled into, in college. I did a modeling agency in Houston. I could create things and make money for myself. And then, in college, you wanted to focus, and I got into finance. And I worked for banking. And
I was going to ask if you ever worked for worked a job, like a 9 to 5.
Yes. Now, I'm not Tommy from Martin, okay?
That's the nickname they call me.
They call you Tommy? They call me
Tommy.
Oh, my God, right.
We don't know what he does.
Right. So, no. I've always had a job. Started off in banking. Actually, after college, worked for JP Morgan. Okay. Worked in finance. From there, worked into property development. I started a cleaning company. Later, opened a live music venue in Houston, bar lounge. From there, closed. Then COVID, I closed, and I opened an event space. Okay. And then from there, I landed on the continent. So shouts out to COVID because COVID really
changed your life.
It changed my life.
Now, before we come to the continent, tell me about some of the business failures that you've experienced. Because, see, they hear serial entrepreneur, and they say, oh, she did it. She was taking the peppermints and selling them and everything. Man. She was throwing parties. She was doing it.
Honestly, I understand the point of failure, but I don't think any of it was failure. I think it was a part of the journey that allowed me to be who I am today. And a lot of times, to have a live music venue, a bar as a woman in Houston for about 5+ years, right? To be in this space, and I had to close my doors because of COVID. And that moment, I thought this was failure.
What did that feel like? Take me into those emotions because entrepreneurs, you'll see someone, they'll say they're an entrepreneur, they'll see the glitz and the glamour, but then there's this other side. I call it experience tuition, but you've referenced that moment when you had to close. Take me inside of some of those emotions and what that felt like.
So the moment I had to close, so I enjoy the pivot in life, right? And I also realized that I've gotten so used to pivoting. Well, to some people it seemed like organized chaos, but it works for me. And in COVID, there wasn't really a pivot, which it actually became a pivot, but I had just had to stop. There was I'm used to cash flow, daily bars. Okay. I supported a lot of musicians. I did live music, so I am hired. I had staff. And so this was the first time that I had an actual full functioning operating business that I could not support my staff. I could not help anyone. It was just and stop. You didn't know what was going to happen. Right. So it was an emotional journey because someone told you to close your doors and they said you cannot open, and people are afraid to come to patronize your business because they don't want to get sick. So there was just a lot. COVID was a lot, but it was beautiful because in that moment of having to close my doors, it forced me to have stillness. And even though I was stressed, and this is how Holistic Roots came about to the continent, I have stress eczema, right? And I realized COVID, it was bad. I had, oh my God.
So it was just everywhere.
It was everywhere. And I went back to my grandmother's teachings of, what we whip in the kitchen,
Shout out to your grandmother.
Shout out to Betty.
Yeah.
Shout out to Betty. I miss her so much. And so as I had to be still, the pivot for me was wellness, health, right? Being still, my mind. I had no idea. We don't know what the world was going to. Yeah. There's no money for cash flow coming in. At the time, if you owned a bar and lounge, there wasn't really grants for entertainment that had really, they had PPP and other things for business owners, right?
But that wasn't enough to carry you.
It wasn't enough. I didn't even understand what PPP was because it wasn't really explained to us properly, right? Okay. I was like, I don't want them in my business. I don't want.
For real.
But honestly, that was the craziest thing. We'll get to that at a later time. if you got a PPP, that was great. You guys take the money, do what you do.
Because it got forgiven at some point.
Okay, but that's information that they didn't want us to know. But anyway, I had no idea what was next. And so it required me to go within. It required me to be still. It required me to value the things that are important, like nature, friends, family. And so in that moment, I took full advantage of cheap flights.
Okay.
And I remembered, I had a concoction that I made for myself that my grandmother taught me. And a friend of mine, her daughter had eczema, gave it to her, and she came up with an idea. Well, how about you just sell this? And that's what I did.
And that's how, so this is
and
interesting.
I created at home. Okay. I'm not a chemist.
I got it.
I just whipped what my grandmother taught me and put it on me, and she sold it, make it out of a business. I became like a little scientist because it was very greasy, the initial product. And I researched about a tree, which is the baobab tree. And I knew about the tree in Zanzibar. I knew about the spice farms and different things, and I had been wanting to get to the continent.
And so that's what you did.
That's what I did. And I went there, and I sourced ingredients that helped me. It was so beautiful. I mean, you can have oils and turmeric that you get in the States, but it's a different type of...
It's organic?
It's organic.
It's organic, so it doesn't have all the chemicals.
It's not even the same by whipping it, right? So I literally went there, stayed in Zanzibar, and sourced ingredients and brought it back to the States.
All of this because of the pandemic?
All of it because of the pandemic.
And understanding how to pivot?
Understanding how to pivot.
Because some people, they didn't pivot very well. The pandemic was overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so instead of seeing it, this is an opportunity. They saw it as this is the end.
It's fearful. I mean, we were in this moment told we were forced to have injections in our bodies, right? Take vaccines.
Right.
We were told we couldn't be around our loved ones. The world was stressed. We had no idea what was going on. But the people that thrived are the people like where we are today, because their natural capabilities and cadences of the earth and in America, we are so programmed and we're so controlled. Where here is like COVID, okay.
Well, to your point, the first place I came back to on the continent was Zanzibar.
Really?
During November 2020, I was right in Zanzibar, and I was like, and there were no, I mean, if you were probably there around that same time.
Yeah,
and
I came in August.
It was like a different world.
Yeah.
They were walking around, I was like, well, y'all don't have this going on and that going on. And it just felt very, very different in Zanzibar. And you could just tell that when it was time to come back to the States, I didn't want to because it felt like I was coming back into some sort of prison. But when I was there, it was it was like it was a different world. So I get it.
Yeah.
So now when you put the concoction on, it worked.
It worked. Well, it always worked because, but I wanted to formulate a product that wasn't as greasy. We had from the oils and the avocado and the honey, like it left the residue. So your clothes, I wanted to kind of just
make it light,
formulate it. Okay. And I still didn't know how to do it because I'm not a scientist. So I wanted to find the proper ingredients, the right ingredients, pure ingredients. And I brought it back, hired a chemist in Houston. And we were just...
And the rest is history.
The rest is history. And so Holistic Roots is, my vision for Holistic Roots is just within the wellness space, giving us a way to heal, and not just by selling a product, right? It's about alternative medicine, learning different things. As I learn, I want to share. It's like a light that I want to give out just so that we understand. There's things that's going on here in Accra, that in the U.S. we're taking medications that's destroying the body. The reason for me creating the Holistic Roots and the Heal and Repair Balm was because you can use products that have steroids that makes the skin thin, the discoloration of the skin. For melanated people, steroids and those chemicals are not good. It thins the skin, it discolors the skin. When here on the continent, there's things all around that you use from nature, that's natural. So as I learned, I wanted to be able to share light within the wellness space. And
were you in that space previously, or?
No. Well, not necessarily, but I guess the reality my mother's side is from Louisiana originally. My grandfather always You know, he had like a small farm. Everything was natural. You know, had I known what CBD was when I was a child, I would have really,
You'd have been.
I would have been slinging it. You know, my grandfather would take marijuana. There's a huge pantry, and on the top of the pantry, there was, you can't touch these jars, but I can have all the jars in the bottom.
Okay.
I'll go eat all the pickles and the honey and jam. But he was making CBD by putting green rubbing alcohol, marijuana, and putting like the Ace band wraps.
Okay.
So when he had arthritis or foot issues, right, or for his whatever his joints were aching, he would take those wraps out,
And wrap it around.
and that's what we call CBD today,
Oh.
right? Because so I guess in my world, I wouldn't consider myself as in the wellness space, but it was. We ate everything natural. Medications, my family didn't believe in medicine. If you're sick, here's some honey. Here, you know, you have a cold, you put your face over a pot and boil oranges and onions and smell it, you know. And
this was Louisiana.
This is Louisiana.
Okay.
And that's just Louisiana, how close we are in proximity to, from the diaspora to the continent, from our foods, what we eat. You know?
Even the way we move and flow and culture.
I mean, I was putting onions in my socks as a child if you had a cold, because we knew that our potatoes, it took out the
potatoes,
right.
Wow.
So I didn't know that I was in the wellness space. I thought my family was crazy because I always wanted a burger, a pizza.
Okay.
That was luxury for me. But actually the luxury was that my mother cooked every day. I was never sick. You know, my family, my friends, they would have Hot Pockets and pizzas.
And
I'm
all
like,
of that.
oh, can I have one? No. But I can never tell you a time I was sick just because of those basic
So you didn't have
things.
all of the processed foods, heavily processed foods.
I didn't. Because it wasn't like a tradition. So you have a headache, go put this, go into the pantry. You know, everything was made at home. So my natural cadence was, I have an eczema. Let me just go whip up what my grandmother taught me. But then I thought, everybody doesn't know this.
No.
So when I would use it for me, I would give it to friends. I gave it to a girlfriend whose daughter had eczema. You know, she trusted me and she'd say, it works. And I was like, well, how do I create business for myself without being human capital? You know, at the bar, you know, everyone claims to be this boss. You this boss woman. You know, you own a bar. I'm stressed out, anxiety, stress. I'm not in my natural flow of connecting with people. And so with that, how can I create business where I can sit on my couch, travel around or go around the world,
and that's what you do,
make money?
And that's what Holistic Roots allows you to do.
Yeah, a D2C. And so I had to learn. I'm still learning. It's not there. I haven't broke $1 million yet, but I will.
Yeah, you will for sure.
But, you know, learning those unlearning practices has really helped me, you know, being able to say, let me think about this different. Why do I have to tie my time to be human capital when I can think smart? I can unlearn some things, relearn, and to say, hey, I want to sit down and make money talking to you.
Let's talk about human capital. You use the term. I know someone is watching, and they're saying, what does she mean by human capital?
Human capital, meaning that you're tied to a business with time. I mean,
so exchanging your time for money?
Time for money.
Okay.
Right? And we know that the value of life is time.
It is.
And nothing's wrong with having a job, and I have friends that are physicians that realize I have no time. And you're human out your time with your business, meaning, you know, you're not having as much freedom. Nothing's wrong with it. We all have to have a job.
Right.
You know, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying everybody should be an entrepreneur, but human capital is a thing. And in the U.S., we are human capital. And
been programmed to be from the beginning of our educational experience.
You're programmed to be human capital until you're 65, and then that's when you're told you're supposed to live your life, which is the biggest lie.
Because by that time, will you have the energy? Depends on how you live those 65 years. And who wants to wait to be 65 to discover they could have been living a different life 40 years prior? You know, you get there, you're like, wait a minute, I'm 65, I could have been doing this, you know. So
that's that unlearning and relearning process, because we have been trained in a way that benefits everyone else and not us.
Oh, I feel this getting ready to go somewhere, y'all.
I'm being honest, like, in America, well, I'm sure we're going to get back to why we're here.
Yeah, we're going to get there, yeah.
But we are the most illness. We have the most illness. We're the sickest apart any other country, and we have the most hospitals. We're the fattest, and we have a lot of gyms.
We are entrepreneurs. There's an industry that feeds everything you're talking about. So with obesity, then that
mental health, all this mental issues. We've done a great job at marketing and branding America.
But everybody, they say everybody wants to go to America. America's the place that everybody wants to be. It's the greatest in the world. But
they sold us a lot.
They sold us. I know. And there's a lot of people starting to discover it. They're figuring it out.
There's a consciousness over the world, especially if you're a melanated Black person of African descent, a diaspora. There's a consciousness of the world. The world is going to, as it purges, is going to revolve, and everything is going to go full cycle. And I can go deeper into that. But we've been lied to. Life is not, and I know that I don't know everything, so don't listen to me. But this is just my life experience. We've been lied to, and we're great at making things look good, and it's not.
So it's like
even with education.
Okay, talk about that a little bit.
We're not in America. We're not the center of the world. We lack in education.
Yeah, but no, you try to tell some people that, they will argue you down and say America has the best education in the world.
We speak one language.
Very true.
We speak one language.
Very true.
We don't travel. We travel inside the U.S. We have been programmed to believe that America is the center of the world, and everything else is poor. It's horrible.
Third world, even misusing that term.
Meanwhile, you're stressed, high blood pressure, eating horrible food, overweight. We've been sold a lie.
Basically a lab rat, if you think about it, because they put things in the food. They put and I know that's kind of probably a heavy term for some people, but think about it. Yeah. They put the GMOs in the food and everything.
But that's a cycle.
Yeah.
When you go to a grocery store, you have cereal, you have all this food, and in the back of every store now, there is a pharmacy. So you're going to eat this, I need you to get sick, I need you to go to the doctor, and I need you to buy the medicine. And this is a revolving cycle. This is big pharma. I need you to eat this. It's a circle. If there's no sick people,
then there's no industry.
There's no industry.
And because someone would say, well, when are they going to find a cure for cancer? I was like, well, they probably already have it, but it won't go to the market.
There's no property. It's here.
Yeah.
It's here.
And if you think about it, well, you're right, because the natural medicines and everything. But
we don't know that.
They won't put it out there.
Because you can't put it out there. So and then tying it back to holistic roots and wellness, I had no idea I had a wellness living as a child. I thought my parents are cheap. My grandpa was crazy. I don't know a lot of kids that can go to the backyard and he has a deer hanging upside down and I know that he's about to make meat, or a cow, or that was a lifestyle.
Yeah.
But that was the greatest gift that I could have from my passed down, because I have kids that never experienced that. And knowing that if I'm sick, I know what to make in my kitchen, because the kitchen is where
that's the healing
space.
Now,
the healing space.
The kitchen is the healing space, and tying it into Ghana, because something happened along the way. You were doing the American thing. You went out to Zanzibar and had that encounter during the pandemic. Yeah. What brought you to Ghana?
So Ghana is extremely special to me. Ghana was as special to me as a child. I had never been. When I was 7 years old, I met Jerry Rollins. I went to Turner Elementary. Shouts out to Turner. They had a multicultural program, and we learned about the continents in their elementary ancillary classes.
Okay.
And they picked a group of kids because the president, in my mind, not of Ghana, but of Africa.
Of Africa.
Because we were taught Africa, not about countries. It was just Africa. And we were meeting the president. And so they put us in these African fabrics. I had a little kente. I don't think it was real kente, but it was American.
Kente print.
The kente print. And so we went to the airport, and we were supposed to greet him when he got off the plane with dancing. Now, they didn't teach us to dance. They showed us just to move. And so I remember Jerry Rollins got off the plane and he walked out. And I was like, he not an African?
Right.
Because what he looked like.
Because he's
fair
skinned.
I'm being honest. What I thought as a child, what we were exposed to from television was a more darker complected. Right. I had in my mind, we mean the president, he's going to come out and
look a particular way.
And it wasn't. And so when he walked off the plane, I remember dancing, and I was like, where is the real president?
The real president.
Where's the president? So that was a moment. I met him. They took about 5 of us to have lunch with them at the table. And I've always been that curious child. And I asked him, why don't the kids have food? And we were sitting at a table. He probably was a little bit further over, and I was dead. Let's get to the point. Why these kids don't have food?
I get it.
What I'm directly asking him. And he said to me, that's not true. He said, Ghana has a lot of chocolate, a lot of gold, and he said something about colors, like all the colors I can think of. It was something about colors. I don't remember the color tie. Maybe fabrics, I'm not sure. But I remember that. And when he said chocolate as a 7-year-old child, I was like,
wait a minute.
Really? Like,
chocolate.
So much chocolate. All the chocolate that you want. And so that little bit of exposure, that small exposure, never met it. I mean, we were learning about the continents, but that exposure carried me 30 years later. I've always had in my mind that I wanted to get to Ghana because this person gave me exposure.
Got it.
Of what something I was exposed to that was not true. And I wanted to verify for myself, was he lying? Because I know they don't have a lot of chocolate in
Ghana.
In Africa. But it was Africa. It wasn't Ghana. I didn't know it was Ghana. No Ghana at the time. I knew it was Ghana later, but I mean, Africa.
Africa was in your mind, yeah.
Yeah. So, full circle. And that carried with me, and what if like our children, Black American kids, had that type of exposure or insight?
Well, that's part of the education that you talked about, or the lack thereof.
Exactly.
Because if you don't have that exposure, you're walking around thinking that everybody's sick and dying in Africa.
Imagine. This is what I was exposed to as a child.
Well, they did a good job. And I always talk about that whole We Are the World campaign with Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson and Kenny Rogers and Stevie Wonder. Shout out to Stevie Wonder for coming to Ghana and getting his dual citizenship and breaking that thing down a little bit. But in the mid-1980s, this big campaign, you had all these celebrities. Yeah. And they're like, Africa is starving and they need us to come rescue them. Now, there are parts of Africa that have severe drought and food issues and everything else, but it's a huge continent with more than 50 countries and different languages and ethnic groups and all of that. But we all thought that way.
But again, to the point I previously made is America's great at marketing and branding. If we can't do anything else, we know how to sell water to a well.
That's right.
If we can't do nothing else, we know how to market, right?
Yeah.
And so to have that exposure at that age to carry me through life. Now, granted, the first time me ever coming to the continent was not Ghana. I was going to get there, but I was going to come in 2019. It didn't happen because I didn't have anyone to cover for my business. I just went to Zanzibar because I wanted to know more about
to figure some things out, yeah.
And so this journey, and 30 years later, Jasmine arrives, Ghana 2023.
Oh, wow. Just recently. Yeah. Very recently.
Yeah. That was my first time coming to the country. I went to Nigeria for a few days. It wasn't, no disrespect to Nigeria. I'm going back. I'm sure it's great. But I was excited. I'm nearby. When I found out how close, an hour flight, I was like, I want to go to Ghana.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, I met her. She's Ghanaian, but she's lived in New York, and she was towards the end of her trip. And I said, hey, I'm going to meet you in Ghana.
And you hopped over.
And I was only supposed to stay like 2 days because I just rerouted my flight.
Yeah.
I ended up staying like 2 weeks.
Yeah, of course.
Solo.
There's no way you can stay 2 days in Ghana. It's
man. So that's what tied me. That little bit of exposure carried me from a child to a grown woman. I have to see this place.
Did you ever find the chocolate?
Now I know what he meant by it.
Now you know.
Right? And I also understand the dancing. Everything was like a full circle moment.
So that seed was planted when you were in elementary school. You were already curious.
Yeah.
So you wondered.
Yeah.
It stayed there.
Yeah.
And then when you finally had the opportunity to come, it all came together.
It all makes sense.
Now that you have been here,
Yeah.
what has the transformation been like for you?
Oh, wow. So it's been like an expedited service, an expedited journey to where 2023 I came in January, fell in love with the country, extreme love, the food, the people, the peace. So before getting off the plane from Nigeria, coming to Ghana, there was a feeling of like a you could breathe. And I'm not knocking Nigeria. I didn't really explore it as much.
I get it.
I'm sure it's a great time, beautiful culture, hardworking culture. But it was something when I landed in Ghana and I got off the plane that there was a relief of like, oh, this feels good.
Something different.
At the airport.
Yeah, at the airport.
Right?
I understand.
So from the airport to getting the hotel, I stayed at the hotel, and my friend took me to a restaurant and whatever. And I was supposed to leave. And I was like, something's making me stay. Oh my God, opportunity. I saw opportunity. I saw, oh my God, I could do this. I could do this. I could do this. And I didn't want to leave.
And your mind just
I took that information, went back to Houston, and I told everyone, oh my God, you got to go to Ghana. At the time, fast forward July, I was asked to be a part of the Houston delegation, which with the mayor of Houston did a trade.
And 23.
23 came, went to Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, and Ghana. I took the Ghana leg, and I was telling everyone, oh my God, we have to do Ghana. Ghana is amazing. So to be a part of that journey, and then to come in solo, to be a part of the introduction through the mayor of Houston, and go through a government route, meaning you're meeting ministers.
Right.
You're meeting people within business, right? It was just, from my experience, which I had a culture, I'm a person that like to immerse myself in culture. So to come solo, it forced me, I'm not the person that just want to stay at the Kapinski the entire time. I want to see how you live. I want to see what you eating. You know,
want to get the
I want the full
essence.
experience. I want the essence. And then to the second time to come in with the mayor and you meet within government, the presidents, the ministers, the deputies, and you see this different. I'm just like, oh my God.
And so that was your second experience in Ghana.
Yeah, it was my second.
Then you decided to come back, and when we were talking before, you mentioned how you started, or the things that you realized about yourself.
Yeah. So every time I came to Ghana, it was a different experience. The first time it was tourism. I was excited. I probably bought they sold every and anything to me, and I bought it. Right? And the second time, it was more on the professional level. And I would still have my mind on things I want to do. The third time I came in, I ended up staying that time about 2 months. And I had all these ideas, and I want to do this and that. I was telling my guy friends, shout out to Earn Your Leisure as well, about they came in December to do their Market Mondays.
Okay.
And I talked to them like, y'all, Ghana's lit. I'm meeting y'all back in Ghana. I want to do this and that. But after all of that, they say this full year of just going out, so it's about 4 times in 2023.
Wow, you came 4 times in 2023.
4 times.
Now, wait, okay, I know you're going somewhere, but I have to ask you this. So, they didn't snatch your organs.
What?
Yes. See what I'm saying? This is what is out here in the marketing world as far as Africa.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't snatch your organs.
I don't think so.
You didn't get kidnapped.
I'm here.
Yeah. I mean, it's these are the things. Were you fearful of coming?
No. So let me say this. The first time coming into Ghana, the taxi driver, still to this day, we're a year later, still is the same person that picks me up.
Absolutely.
The taxi driver drove me in a taxi to Cape Coast.
I get it.
A little taxi. Taxi driver made sure that I am okay. He didn't try to barter me for money. His cost was his cost. Covered, made sure I was okay, and has been someone that literally, no matter where I pulled up to, I still will call William. Shouts out to William.
Shout out to William.
William.
Go ahead, bro.
Because meeting them drove me to Cape Coast, drove me around in this little taxi solo. He knew I was here by myself. Oh, just checking on you. If I'm in a place too long, I went to a restaurant, tried to go to a lounge. Oh, just checking to make sure you're okay. There's a covering. So the difference is, I think it's a westernized marketing strategy to want us to be afraid of connecting and having shared community here on the continent, because none of that has happened. Things happen anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world.
But organs and being kidnapped, you need to be safe in general, right?
Well, look at what just happened in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And
I mean, look what's happening in New Orleans. Look what just happened in New York.
That's what I'm saying.
Today, this morning.
Something else happened.
Oh, wait a minute. They also were calling a lot of food. There's a lot of process. There's a lot going on in America. And you mean to tell me that you want me to be afraid of being here?
But it's so unreal. And to be coming from us.
Oh, man.
I mean, I expect the colonizers' descendants to push that propaganda, but when it comes from us, it's like,
well, we are the minds of colonizers.
So let's talk about that.
So let's go back to that.
Yeah, let's talk about that realization.
So every time I came to Ghana, I learned something different.
Okay.
And even for even into 2025 now that we are here, I realized how much I was a white woman in Ghana. Meaning, and when I say a white woman,
you gotta break that down.
I'll say a white woman because the way that we think, a colonizer's mind. So there's some great benefits of what we've learned in America, that we can actually have a great shared community. But I realized I was coming here and I wanted to implement a westernized mindset to these people, to this culture. Our people, when I say these people, who am I to tell you, you need to do this faster? It needs to be like this. Who am I to come to another country and to dictate how this culture should be?
But that's what the colonizer does.
And that's who we are. That's in our blood.
It's in our blood and in our minds.
You realize when you get here, for everyone that wants to come to the continent, come to Accra, and you have the mindset like me, oh, it needs to be faster. We need this. I'll do this. I had all these ideas. Oh my God, January, July. By the time I got back to December, I said, you know what? I want to learn the culture first. Because I would get frustrated in so many ways, because I've been programmed to believe in a way that a certain system should work. And it's almost escaping the matrix, because don't get me wrong, it's frustrating. It can get frustrating on certain things, like anywhere else. But I realized how much of a white woman I was, my mentality, culturally.
And a lot of pro-Black people have those tendencies.
And we don't realize it until we come here. And last December, I realized, end of 2023, I'm doing this wrong. Because I'm coming in with innovation. I want to build this, I want to build this, I want to build this. But what you realize is, why do I want to bring the stress, what I'm running away from, to make this place where it's actually peaceful? Now, granted, there's ways and things of systems.
Yes, a few things can be,
That's up to the new government. But the natural capabilities of this place is what makes it beautiful.
The peace.
The peace. So I'm going to come here, and I want people to be overworked, fast,
underpaid,
stressed out, eating bad. I'm running away from that. Who am I to bring that here? And how I realized I was a white woman, I don't even watch TV, but it was something on one of the televisions in the Airbnb I was in, and it was called 90 Days to Get Married.
Okay, like 90 Day Fiancé or something like that.
And it was a white lady married to some Nigerian guy or something. And the way this woman walked in the airport in Nigeria, they were just showing her as she got her bag, and she was like, oh, hi. I said, oh my God, is that what I look like?
Oh, wow.
That was
that was that moment you saw yourself, but that's the white woman.
Wait, is that what I sound like? Because I was like, why is this white woman? I've been in Ghana now, so you can't tell me I'm not Black, but the way she walked into the airport and greeted and this fake persona, tone-wise, I reflected and said, is that what I look like to someone else?
Well, I see a lot of people getting off the planes, a lot of us getting off the planes just like that. Oh, I can't believe this is, and it's just this thing. And it's like, hey, chill, it's okay.
You are in somebody else's
Yeah.
country. Who are you to tell me what should be done? And so when Black Americans come to, you're wanting to do business in that crowd, you want to do business on the continent, learn the culture, learn the people, learn our learning. Granted, we can have shared community, but you have to respect somebody else's culture, right?
Yeah.
Understand. Don't force them. Why do you? I don't understand what you're saying. I had a lady tell us, I can't understand you. You're in someone else's country.
That's right.
And you're judging their English, and you only speak one language.
Right. It's
who are you?
It's the most unbelievable thing that I've seen.
And don't get me wrong, I am not to bash America. I have lineage of my great grandfather, and people who have contributed a
and
lot
built that
to
country.
the country.
Yeah.
That is my country.
Yeah.
America is ours before it's anyone else. But the continent is ours before it's anybody else's, before the Chinese, before the Europeans. And I want us to be able to have a mindset where we're open. Because if you're not an open-minded person, you're going to fail. If you think you're just going to come here, buy a house to say you have a house in Africa, that's not it.
That's not it.
How do you immerse yourself in culture? How do you learn, not judging the foods and realize how close we are?
Well, some people have a mindset of Ghana owes them because the Africans sold us into slavery.
So I have an ex of mine that was their understanding of visiting Cape Coast. For me, it was emotional, and I respected someone else's perspective, which was, comment was, they deserve it. I believe the way Africa is, how it is today, is because it's the karma of them letting their people go. And it's this attitude. And again, even in that mindset, I saw how much of a white man he was in that moment.
Yeah.
Who are you to? That's a whole nother stick.
Well, no.
But who are you to say that?
Yeah, go down there.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There's absolutely. We were sold off, right?
Yeah.
There's you can see a lot of the infrastructure that exists today, the mentality, right? There's no perfect people, but to say the way that this country is, I was really shocked by that.
Well, sometimes what it is, that's part of the story, because those people who were sold also had families here that lost them. Yeah. And then there were people who were resisting and fighting. And there were slave plantations on the continent. There were villages that were destroyed. Yeah. So the suffering was on both sides.
Ends.
So
Absolutely.
It wasn't just it wasn't like all of the Africans were selling.
Yeah.
There were people who were being exploited and taken advantage of here.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just like those, our ancestors. So to your point earlier, I tell people all the time, I said it's not either or, it's both. I said because I can lay claim to here and to the U.S. because ancestors on both sides.
Exactly.
And what it did was it took away that anger that was, I'm not even sure how justified it is, because when you get the broader context of the story, you understand that it wasn't just.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that there's space for us to have feelings on both sides.
Yeah.
To be angry, why would you do it?
Yeah.
How could you do that to your people?
Yeah.
Right. But that's still something that needs to be worked through, right?
Yeah.
Because life is about humanity. You know what I mean? It's the humanity of existing, right? And I was just blown away by that. But everyone has a different experience. When you're coming to the continent, you're coming to Accra, have an open mind. But I also want us to realize that history was written not by us. It was written by white people that needed to justify what they did to this country, what they did.
Interesting. And to control the education system.
Exactly. So the reality is, it's not that the history wasn't written. We don't have books that came from this side.
Correct.
Telling their own storytelling of what actually happened. The white man, I hate saying white man, but, wrote history. And you wrote history based on justifying you invading someone else's culture robbing, stealing. And so you have to justify why you did what you did.
And they use every angle you can think of.
Every angle to do it. So when you think about history and we think about everything overall, again, that learning process of really learning what ours for ourselves. Mm-hmm. You won't know if you stay in America. You will never know what it's like to be here. If you go to Miami, you can go to Mexico. I mean, Miami's in the States, but you go to Mexico, you go to all these other places. You should want to come here because it's yours.
How do we bridge that gap? Because I've heard you reference bridging the gap. What can we do to help educate those of us in the African diaspora abroad to say, you know what, consider this and then prepare them for it? Because what I see a lot of times, people go on a trip and they're not prepared.
Yeah.
And then they're coming with the Western mind, the white woman, white man mind.
Yeah.
I call it brown bodies, white minds.
Yes.
They come here with that. And then they're disappointed.
Yeah.
And then, but yet they complain about what's happening in the U.S. They complain, everything's bad in the U.S. and it's racism, they don't like me. And they come over here and then they treat the people the same way that they're being treated.
Because the mindset, we are raised by colonizers. So even when we come to another place, we're not as open. It's in our blood. There's an unlearning process. But to your question, I think it's important what you and I are doing. And we sometimes have to show us what can be done, and then we will follow.
Okay.
So we have to build a bridge. And right now, we're in the process of building that bridge, brick by brick, to walk them over. And maybe not in this lifetime. Well, it'll be in this lifetime. But, later on in life, it will be such a massive, huge, easy crossing bridge, for us. Like we have Ambassador Bennett with the Diaspora
African Forum.
Forum. Yeah. She's been doing this almost 40 years of creating bridges. And so now ourselves, we're in this space of walking on a bridge
that she's helped
pave the way, right? So we're adding stones. We're adding, hey, let's do an orientation before you come to the continent. What you should know, what you should understand, how you should value, wash away whatever you thought, bring that away. Come with an open mind. How do you, there has to be an orientation process. I think before just coming, and, a lot of times people think when you come to the continent, I visited a place. You come for a week, you dead see December.
Right.
Oh, I've been to Ghana. You haven't experienced Ghana.
That was just a moment, that was a snapshot.
It was a snapshot of what it is. You have to learn culture. That's the only way that we can have shared community.
What are some of the biggest lessons you learned about the culture? Because you referenced that. And what or some of the takeaways or things that you learned about yourself in the culture? I know the white woman
so that was one. I said that I realized how much of a white woman I was coming here. And that's still a learning process. Because I'm used in America, everything is fast, right? Culturally, one of the most beautiful things here I've witnessed is community, right? In the States, we're taught individuality. And this is not bashing Americans, well, just go move to Ghana, which I am. But I mean, it's a process. And we're taught individuality in the States. I know I'm making my money. This is for me and my family. You make your money. I'm a gatekeeper. I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna help you.
Well, shoot, they do that.
Well, I'm in a neighborhood, and maybe when you were a child, but when I was a child in my area, everyone knows you on the street.
Yeah.
And I think we were that last age group that was able to benefit from community a little bit.
And so now it's kind of gone to the individuality. Even
People don't come outside. You don't want to entertain with your neighbors. But what I've learned here is community. A driver was driving me and the battery went out on the car. And about 8 different people walked out to help this person. They didn't know him. I think they were all trying to figure out how can they do it, but community, even a village mentality, I think is really important.
When we come back, the conversation continues. But first, a special message from one of our sponsors. Maximum Impact Travel celebrates the rich history and culture of the African diaspora, connecting travelers to Africa, the Americas, the Caribbean, and Europe. Through carefully curated tours, they showcase the people, traditions, and hidden treasures of these regions, offering unforgettable journeys that honor the beauty and legacy of the African diaspora.
You know, the market ladies.
Oh, yes.
One thing I learned was, man, that's amazing. If I was looking for maybe a particular dress and they didn't have it, she would run to find someone in the area to find what I'm looking for. It wasn't like, oh, no, I don't have it, so I don't want no one else to make money. You know, that type of community.
So it was...
it's a big thing. When you think about it, have you experienced it?
I've experienced it.
If it's like, I'm looking for something and she doesn't have it, she's going to go down to the next store, the next shop, and they're all going to run around
until they find it
to help that person get that sale. Yeah. You know,
I find
that's community to me.
The community that you're referencing is so real. And when we heard for years, Africans they're not going to like you, they're not going to accept you, they're not going to do it. The reason why my business is so successful is because of the many Africans that are on my team that have my back. And it's like, it's the most beautiful thing because it's almost like another unlearning because I'm now having an encounter with humans that goes beyond anything that anyone's ever told me. And they can't take that experience. No one can take that away.
Absolutely. So I think the most important part I've seen is community. Now, you can ask a Ghanaian, they may say something completely different how they feel.
Sure.
But just coming in and immersing myself, there is a difference. I don't experience that. It's almost like everybody's for themselves. You know, if even the markets, we were told they're poor. These white people are selling, that's the most fresh food.
And there's plenty of food.
And plenty of food. And if she doesn't have the eggs you're looking for, or if she's going to go around and find somebody so you can make that sale. So for me, learning community, I didn't even realize, even with Ambassador, with Erica Bennett, my OG, I'm so used to doing things alone that I didn't realize. She's like, hey, check in with me. Let me know you're okay. What can I help you with? What can be done? But the individuality of not having community village, is something that I really want to really lean into because it's important. I think we're missing it, And in America, I think we should focus on our own community.
I have an interesting question for you.
Yeah.
And this is what I see. I see a trend where a lot of us are seeing opportunity to come.
Yeah.
And we want to build our own little places, but we want to keep out everyone else.
Yeah.
And it's like we want to set up our own little communities, price it in such a way that the locals can't afford it. But make it out. This is what is for us. How do you see that being received? I don't know if you've heard about it or seen it. And I'm not talking about. I haven't heard about it. And I'm talking about it from a mindset perspective, not from a development perspective, but from a mindset perspective, where it's like, no, we want to have our own space and we want to keep everybody else out.
So I'm not for. So there's two sides for me, and I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I want shared community for us, because that's when you're in someone else's country. Not someone else's country. We're immersing ourselves into culture. I think we should have shared community where we can work together. But as a diasporan, as a Black American, I think there's a moment where we have to have a healthy balance of both worlds.
Okay.
Because I think it's important that we have our own.
Okay.
To be honest with you. Everyone else does it. Okay. And I think that, I'm not saying to just a full Jewish mentality, but us coming in, I think it's great for us to focus on Black Americans and our wealth. And I'm not saying... And having a community... have a community.
A community with that. Because that may even strengthen what we do in the States.
My goal is what I would love to see is us to have our own around the world. And if we're able to do that here in Ghana, meaning knowing your worth of what you're able to bring into a country, a place, anywhere in the world, right? And be able to do it in a way like the Indians do, the Chinese do. Why? Because, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm Ghanaian. I know I'm not.
Right, you're not.
I'm not. I love the country. I know I'm American. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with being an American. I love being an American.
Right, because
I'm not coming here to say, we're all African.
Right.
But I know we're not the same. I know that. And I'm not saying one is better or not.
Or the other, right.
But there's a pride of being who I am. And I want us to have that pride because as Black people who have been disconnected from the continent, disconnected in so many ways, we've never created our own. And I think if we create a model, we're able to duplicate that around the world and focus on us. I think it's important. I think it's a need. But I think it has to be a healthy balance. I'm not trying to not participate or invade or colonize on somebody else's land that they've done. But there's importance to know the value of who we are.
So not lose your identity either way.
Because it's losing your identity.
Yeah.
But, every culture does it. When you go to any city in the United States, you see the Chinatown. They have their banks.
Has Chinatown.
Yes. They have their banks. They have their clothing stores. You can't go. Everybody makes money off of Black people. And it's not just Black Americans. It's in Africa. We need to care about our own. And I know that I'm not Ghanaian. I know that I have African descent, and we should work together. But I also don't think there's anything wrong with
owning who you are
as a Black American, building wealth for your community, right? And I think we have to figure a way to have shared community. But I want to be able for us to go into any country and any continent and set place that we are here.
How would you suggest that we navigate something like that? Because I'm going to go down a road here.
Yeah.
I'm going to go down a particular road.
Okay.
My experience where I've had the challenge, the greatest challenge on the continent is with other Black Americans.
Yeah.
It has been the most unreal experience.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Gatekeepers.
Sabotaging of your business.
Yeah. It's this thing,
Because we are raised by white people. That's why I think there's an orientation that needs to happen. There is an unlearning and relearning and understanding what community is. If we can understand what community is, the village mentality that we can learn from this place.
Yeah.
If anything else, community. How to support, help each other. Because we've always been told to compete with each other.
We sure have.
We've been told to compete with each other.
And then we brag about it. Yeah.
We take that and come here.
We sure do.
And you're doing the same thing. So the issue.
So you've seen it, okay?
The issue is you.
Yeah.
The issue is how are we able to unlearn these horrible teachings that have been beaten for us for decades, centuries?
So what can we do? Because it seems like
having a conversation and talk.
But some of these people don't want to talk. And a lot of them come under the banter of Black empowerment, Black this, Black that, and they'll be the main gatekeepers. They'll be the main
they don't
ones.
Want to help.
But they're the ones who have the audience. They're the ones who have the control. They have the resources. Mm-hmm. And so, and I was a little surprised by it because.
How do you come from where we're running from to do the same thing here?
But I'm going to tell you, back to Zanzibar.
Uh-huh.
I was in the East African Slave Museum.
Yeah.
And there was a picture go down a little bit on the right-hand side, and it talked about someone who had been enslaved and they won their freedom. Uh-huh. And the reporter asked the person, so what are you going to do now? Yeah. And he said, I'm going to go get a slave. And this is right there in the East African Slave Museum in Zanzibar. And when I saw it, I said, this is very reminiscent of some of the things that I've experienced here just on the continent. So it's very interesting, and I hear it a lot. It's a recurring theme. So I'm hoping that as we're doing this exploration, that we do self-examination, because you talked about, you recognize the white woman syndrome, but a lot of us are not coming to recognizing the hood mentality or the scarcity mentality and all of that.
So what we do is, you can't force people to follow.
Yes.
We just create and move. And so either you're going to fall in line
or get left behind. Because what we're wanting to do is do something that hasn't been done. They only know how to act that way. And I don't blame them, because we have been taught. And so you're going to take that in life and everywhere you go. But I'm realizing as a people, we have to be okay with
creating our own way and not be like, oh, he acting like that with me, so I'm gonna do the same thing. She don't want to give it. No.
You just keep on moving.
But there's a group of us, our tribe
Yeah.
of people that want to help and support each other.
Very true.
It's a group of us. And so, yeah, there are going to be people like that. But we don't have to be that way.
Yeah.
You can't allow what someone else does reflect on how you move.
Because someone coming over, and it may be a level of naivete. When they come over, they're like, oh, I'm going to the motherland. I'm about to have this encounter.
Yeah.
And then they have that experience, and then it disappoints them. And then they can kind of go into this place of despair, feeling like, I don't know if there's any place in the world
where we can go.
So
that's my point to your question, what you said about Black Americans having our own and being able to, you know, having shared community. There is absolutely nothing wrong with understanding that we are different. We're African, we're of African descent. I'm not trying to create division, but it's okay to say, hey, I'm an American. I'm a Black American.
I mean, some of the ethnic groups, even if you look here in Ghana, I mean, the differences between Ga, Ewe, Fanti, you know,
we're different tribes.
Different, that's right. And
so that's
different.
my point.
Yeah.
Exactly. So let's just not say different. We are like
unique.
We're our own tribe.
Yeah.
We're another tribe.
That's
and in this tribe, we have our focuses. We have our community, what we do, how we maneuver, because we're different.
Yeah.
We're not, it's crazy. Like, oh, we're all the same. You know, we are. But we're a different tribe. We're a tribe of people.
It's a different culture.
It's a culture. Culturally, we're different. And we have differences. You still can have shared community. I don't have to go and completely wash away who I am and say, oh, no, I'm Ghanaian now. Even though I am Ghanaian now.
Right, you are.
But I'm saying, like, I don't have to wash away the beauty.
It's you could have all of it.
I love being a Black American.
Yeah.
I love the fact that what my ancestors created. I love the fact knowing that some of the ancestors that made it across those waters were some of the most unique, brilliant DNA that you could ever have. And I'm a part of that.
That's right.
I'm a part of whatever happened.
The survivor aspect,
Right, because we came to another country, washed and erased, and built our own.
Yes.
We're a different tribe of people. And I'm okay with saying that we are a tribe. And this is how we operate in our tribe.
You know, some people say that Black Americans don't have a culture. I hear that. And I'm like, no, we have a culture.
American culture is our culture.
But we also have this other thing. We have these, so you have New Orleans.
Louisiana.
Lafayette. Oh, excuse me. See, there we go.
I gotta put it out.
See
I mean, the minute you say Louisiana, everyone says, oh, New Orleans, baby, let me hear. No.
So Lafayette.
Okay.
So Louisiana. But now if you think about it, so I was born in Charleston.
Okay.
And she teased me about my country accent.
Yes.
So that's the Gullah Geechee. So that's very, well, it's it's different. And then that was raised in D.C.
Yeah.
That's its own culture, its own dialect, its own, if you will, even its own language.
Yeah.
So even within the U.S., as Black Americans, we have our own cultures.
We have our own
under
culture.
That.
Exactly. It's tribes of people that have been over the test of time. They just give us different labels. We are different.
Yeah.
We are a group of people that are from the most amazing genes as possible. Like, we have like a rooted DNA gene pool that's so strong, beautiful, resilient people. Spread
across a continent, continents.
A continent around the world. Yeah. We're a different tribe. We're just the Dominicans, they're a tribe. The Brazilians, the Jamaicans, we're just in different tribes. We're the core of the same people, but it's nothing wrong to say that I am a Black American.
Nothing wrong at all.
And it's nothing wrong to go into any country, any city, and be Black American, immerse the culture. Everyone steals. Everybody makes money off of us. Everyone.
How do you feel when you go someplace, and this is a recent experience, and there are people who think they know our culture, and they will come to us and talk to us a particular way, or they'll always reference celebrities. And I had to explain to someone, I said, we're very unique people. I said that if you think that particular slang is the only way that we speak, let me send you some different dialects. So I sent some Gullah Geechee slang. Yeah. I found some slang out of Detroit or something. Yeah, they were like, Wait a minute. I said all of us are Black Americans.
Yeah.
That's
Because
different parts.
it's our culture.
Yeah.
American culture is Black culture.
When it gets to the core, you're right.
To the core.
And a lot of people made money off of it.
It's ours.
Yeah.
What do you know, and you know, it's sad because I really want us to understand how resilient we are. We are resilient beings that we allow because it's the oppression and the lack of self-awareness that people are told you who you are. And when you translate that within politics,
Oh, yeah.
we're still needing people to tell us or give us. We don't need anybody. We created a country. We are the backbone. Black women are the backbone of America.
Very true. That's right.
We've been wearing America on our backs forever. Entertainment industry. We
That's
wouldn't
very
have
true.
an entertainment industry. Our light, our gifts share around the world, right?
How can we monetize that then? It's because
knowing who you are.
Okay.
Knowing to say no. Not doing exactly what you said like they do when they come here, gatekeep, this is only for us. So that for me, there's no Black excellence.
Okay.
There's not Black excellence.
It's excellence.
We're excellence. We're Black. See, we don't realize that we create supremacy within our own culture.
Break that down for me.
Black excellence. You are not Black excellence. Beyonce, Jay-Z is not Black excellence. If the culture collectively is not doing well, if we are not making money, right? If we are not thriving as a people, we are not doing well. Just because you're a part of the group of people, you're acting just like the colonizers want us to. Black excellent brunch, Black this, or we're this group of people. That's bullshit.
Oh, wow.
Because the reality is we have to think about community, right? Example, I made a comment about Kamala Harris, you know, a Black woman, whatever you call it, whatever that was, right?
Got it.
And I think that it's a point that we raise so much money. We raise so much money.
In such a short period of time.
And my point was, what do you do with that money? What happens? She got $200 million in 4 days. I'm not saying it was all Black Americans, but we bought into this. We bought into this.
Sure did.
How did that money benefit us? Who's sitting on all that money? Divine Nine gave, I may be wrong, I think it was like $30 million they raised. You know what $30 million can do for inner city places like Detroit, Houston, all these different cities that we're needing? We have to focus on ourselves and our own community. So that is the focus. Because all of that money, all of this, who did it benefit? The Black excellence? The people that were paid to make the money?
Yeah.
But how does that dollar trickle down to community? And once we get out of the mindset of thinking like white people, and realizing there's no Black excellence, that's bullshit.
It's just excellence.
Culturally, if I'm suffering and you are doing well, and they look at Black people as only doing well, that's why we give these basketball entertainers, we put so much pressure because they're considered as excellence.
Is that elitism on some level, you think?
Yeah, that's what it is. And it's not. Because we have to think about us as a whole. As a whole, like, and that's one thing I love about the Black Panther political party and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It was because it's the reality of focusing on your community.
But they say that's racist. The minute you start talking about,
don't care.
oh, you're doing that Black thing, you're talking about that Black thing.
It's all about me. And I'm pro-Black to the fullest because it's not for me to include no one else. And it's taken me time to get to this point because the reality is I only want to talk about my people. I want us to have an awareness and a passion for who we are as a whole. If the numbers, if the data shows that education-wise we are behind, and your daughter, because they went to Harvard or they went to this school and you're excellent, you're still Black, the community, we're not doing well. When we're all doing well and we're all doing okay, then that's when it's important. There's no Black excellence. And for me, I hate it. And I don't think we realize how much we segregate ourselves in the same mentalities.
So does that make you anti-white?
I'm all about Black people.
Okay.
I only care about my culture. I care about humanity. as humans, but my focus is about
So
my
you're pro?
people. I'm pro-Black.
Pro-Black, pro...
No one else's issues are not my issues.
Because our issues perhaps have always been put on the back burner.
I feel like our issues are always combined with everyone else's. And I only want to focus and I only want to speak directly to my people.
And you can choose to answer this question or not. This is one of the ones that...
Yeah.
How do you reconcile that in a political landscape where there are people who have melanin but might not necessarily have agendas that support Black people?
It's a problem. And that's a part of the Black excellence
Okay.
when I speak of that.
So you do go there, you go down that road, okay.
So that's what I mean when I say that. It's only for self-benefiting. We're very self-benefiting people, and not like we've been taught this way. We are people of the earth. And I'm gonna go spiritual.
Cool, let's do it.
We're people of the earth. That's why we love the way we do.
Okay.
That's why we haven't retaliated and went to a whole war. We allow who we are, the cadence of who we're, not who they made us to believe like gangsters and thugs, we're killing and robbing. As African descents of the world, that's not our cult, that's not our spirit. That's someone else's spirit. That's their spirit.
I get it.
That's not ours. And I don't believe that they're of the earth. The way that they handle, and it's history that shows exactly who they are. I don't believe that they have the capabilities of having humanity and care. So if that calls me anti-white, I'm sorry. I don't consider myself an anti-white person, but the focus, and we talk about data and history, there's no history that shows us to be that way, who we are.
If you look at the history since the inception of the United States, that is definitely a very pro-white, pro-European system.
You know what it feels like to come to a country, come to Accra, and the first time, well, I wouldn't say in Accra, but I went to Zanzibar first, but I had never seen money with Black faces on it.
Yeah.
Do you know what the shock that's like?
Yeah, especially here, because it's like 5 or 6 different...
To ride around and you see billboards of Africans.
Yeah.
Call it, if it's not fancy, whatever you want to call it. Do you know what that looks? And I take coins, dollar bills, US dollars, and not a single Black person is on any of the money.
And how about...
You know what a shock that is? As if we don't exist into a country that we built. If you step out and look at it from a macro perspective.
I get it. In most of the cities named after.
These ball players, these from the NBA, from entertainment, as if we have not contributed anything. And you tell us you get rid of DEI, we're still asking. America's ours. We're the most original from anybody in the United States. I'm sorry, but I get real passionate about this.
I told you, you can flow.
Black people, we are the original Americans. Now, when I say not the indigenous, not negating the Moors, the indigenous, we can go through all of that.
Right.
But being America, when America was established,
the country, the corporation of America. There you go.
Is Black. The foundation of everything is us.
Yeah.
And you mean to tell me we don't have representation? And you're telling me what you're going to teach my children in schools? If you're not going to teach about Black history, what we contribute to this country to keep it white? And the reality is, I think what everyone is aware is because they're becoming extinct. They want to have supremacy.
Well, their brand, you talked about America being a great marketing machine, branding agent. So whenever, if we even go to our names and everything, the brand is on us on so many levels. You got me thinking. Now you got me started.
Listen.
I've discovered something not too long ago that most of the HBCUs are named after white people.
White people. Spelman.
Yes.
Morehouse.
Howard.
Yeah.
It's a very...
So, it's almost like, and I really want to sit with myself to figure out how to articulate it a lot better.
I get it.
Because I get emotional. I get a little upset.
Yeah.
But that moment of seeing something as simple as the dollars, bills, you don't see a Black face on anything. And so what does that do to history?
Yeah.
What does that do with
It's almost
history?
like you don't exist. You
don't exist.
Yeah.
And then so we are concerned, and so they have these narratives when you come to the continent where you're not even African either. Where is the place for the black person, the melanated Black American? What place do we hold? And I want us to, the initial question, to focus on our community, because we have power.
We have lots of power.
We have a lot of power.
A lot of money, too.
And I think we could have a shared community. The Jews go in, the Chinese go in, the Indians go in, the Africans, even in Houston. Everyone has their own area.
They're like little Nigeria.
Everyone has their own area, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But we're taught that we have to give, immerse, and be a part of everyone's culture. We are like a group of people that have been evolved over time.
A hybrid, perhaps?
A hybrid tribe of people.
And even now,
and it's our own tribe, and it's okay. Yeah.
Well, you know, back in the day, I hear a lot of older Black Americans talk about how desegregation was not really for our benefit.
No.
And so, but when we see many of our Black American leaders fighting for desegregation, it's kind of like we've been taught that was a good thing. But when you understand it from an economic standpoint, it opened the door.
Martin Luther King knew that at the end of his career, not the end of his career, he knew that wasn't right.
And he said it. He said it.
Listen, we have to focus on us. We have to teach our own. We have to feed our own. We have to be prominent in the spaces regarding us. Who's teaching your children?
Yeah.
Why can you come and to tell me what you're going to teach my child? The worst thing is that not having Black teachers. You know, when you think about the Black Panther Party and what they were fighting for, we feed our own community. We grow our own crops. You know, I'm not saying every Black person run away from America and come to Africa. Yeah. No, America's ours. That's our land.
That's right.
But I also understand that we're a different tribe of people. And so you have to know who you are. Know who you are as a culture and what you provide. It's a mentality of being told what to do. And I agree with them. That was the worst thing. And that's one thing why I love Malcolm X. I love it.
Yeah, he had no problem saying whatever needed to be said.
And exactly, we are his dream. When you think about him going,
and coming here,
you think about the world and, coming to Ghana with W.E. Du Bois and, leaning into the Black man. We are a different tribe of people. Yeah. And it's okay. We can have places around the world. Why are the Chinese here?
Why are the Chinese here? The Lebanese. They're here.
Well, they're here.
And
because
they own everything.
They move on the focus of to get who they are.
They do.
And they support each other. The Jews do it. Why as Black Americans we can't do it? And the Africans can't go and do it. When you go into Europe, this is what we want. Why are we having world leader events in Europe about Africa? What? Why?
Yeah.
It's a thing of knowing who you are. And I think we've lost, we somehow we're so used to the smell of our own royalty that we don't know what we possess. And this is an example. Here in Ghana, beautiful country. Every resource you can think of, gold, cocoa, everything. You can literally walk around and get a coconut off the tree.
You can.
But this is a normal thing. You know what I mean, to them. And we have to value what we have.
But it goes back to the unlearning that you talked about and the relearning.
Yeah.
And I think that conversations like this, the more often that they're had, it offers a different perspective.
Yeah.
Because you have, the different movements out here that are doing everything they can to keep the children of this continent away.
Everyone knows it but us.
And it's
the craziest part. When I looked at even in Ghana, because I'm talking about Africans too. We all African, but we all have some shared things. That's why it was really important to have shared community with Africans and the diasporans, because we can help each other. So they can see themselves and we can see ourselves what we need to work on.
Yeah.
And even in Ghana, why don't they produce their own? And this is coming from a colonizer mindset, I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
We've been trained to, so when we see business, we can do this. Wait a minute, y'all don't even produce toothpicks? And you have all this lumber? Somebody else is in control of your cocoa?
Yeah, that's the colonizer.
You're importing food? Why? Ghana has everything,
Yeah, it has everything.
So it's I get really passionate about it, but overall, I think it's okay for us to love ourselves as Black people. and know who we contribute to the world and connect together and have community. And it takes people, I think, like you and I, that will lead way. And sometimes we have to lead by example in what we can do. And the gatekeepers, they're going to keep gatekeeping whatever it is.
I just move
but
around.
We'll move around and we'll just have we'll build a community and people will follow.
And it'll go around the gatekeeper because they can't even control it at that point.
And then they will fall in line.
Yeah.
You will fall in place.
Now let's talk about this, the people, Black Americans. You talked about the power that we have.
Yeah.
If you took Black Americans as a country, it would be one of the wealthiest countries in the world.
Absolutely.
But what they tell us in the U.S. is that we're low income, we're, all these other things, we don't have access.
Marketing and branding.
To where we psychologically don't understand. And on top of that, we have been groomed to be consumers more so than investors and all of that. How do you feel about that?
Listen, Black Americans, we create everything. And white people find ways to benefit from what we created. We build a traffic light, they create a system. We create, they build systems. And so when they do that, they build a traffic light. We create a traffic light, they figure out how we're going to get a ticket. We build something else, they feel like how they're going to sell it. We create everything.
So what can we do to hold, because this goes back to, it has so many different layers. You have the military aspect, because obviously anyone who has, if you think about the people who have come in over the years, like they would try to evolve or do something differently, then it would be taken out.
Yes.
So what can we do with this generation to navigate that? Because it seems like if one person starts to rise up, then there's something waiting for them at the top to try to bring them down.
Keep doing what we're doing on this path that we're doing now.
Yeah.
Leading by example, not gatekeeping, sharing accurate information to the culture. Be willing to honestly just share information.
Okay.
Be willing to share information. Be willing to teach each other and to unlearn and do the work. That's what it really takes. That's what it is, to do the work.
To do the work.
Because it is very frustrating. If you're here and I'm starting a tourism company, and I don't want to connect with you because we're doing the same thing. But we can say, hey, let's come together and make a big one. Let's, you know what I mean? I can bring on 200 people. You brought 200 people. Wow. Let's see how can we work together.
It does not work like that.
It doesn't work like that.
It does not.
It doesn't.
Especially in Ghana.
Exactly.
I can tell you some stories about
and it's happening.
These jokers are.
I get it, and it's broken people. And when I say do the work, do the work isn't just one thing. You have to do the work in your spirit. You have to do the work in your mind. Do the work of unlearning, relearning, educating yourself. Do the work. So when you get to that point, you get it.
But you know, when you say that, what has happened and the reason why my business has taken off so well is because I have been able to find my community of people, and they're the ones who we connect, and we bring. It's been 2,000 people in 3 years, coming back, and it's been connecting with other Black Americans. So let me be clear. We have those of us who get it and understand. There are others of us who don't. But to your point, when you find the right people, you can get anything done.
And so that's the thing. It's about collective effort. One person is not representation of all Black people.
That's right.
Right? And so that saying that irks my spirit, which is Black excellence. You may be doing all this on social media. How are you really helping your people? Right? Like, are you really doing it? Not really. And all of that would eventually fade out. I think you've got to do the work. We got to keep doing the work and leading by example. And I know it's frustrating. I'm not saying be the kumbaya. It's, sometimes you go piss me off.
Yeah. But that's the human side of it.
But the basis of community is we can move forward and still work together. So it's still learning. We're all learning. And so we are in a great space of now being a Ghanaian citizen after 1 year. I'm excited about that.
Go ahead with your bad self.
I'm excited to be welcome to this country and want to help add those bricks to the bridge of having a shared community. And it's scary. When I say scary, I mean by the fact that it's scary because It's something, I don't have a blueprint of someone who's done this before me.
You're a pioneer. You've been a pioneer since you were a child. So
yeah, so it's scary. And I question myself, are you delusional? Are you okay? Because I've never seen people, I don't have a blueprint to follow where my mother said, hey, I went and got citizenship in this country and I'm doing this and this is what you do. And so we have to be very intentional, you and I and other people in this path of sharing information to the passed down.
Well, you have instincts, and I believe those are divine instincts. You know, when you've been given an assignment, some things
you have to listen.
You have to listen, and there are tools that you've been given that you don't even, sometimes you don't know you have the tools until it's time for you to use them. And then you get there and you're like, oh, how did I know how to do that? It won't even make sense.
It's God-given. It's
That's
spirit.
it.
I think it's really a spirit-led, it's faith walking.
Absolutely. Because, you know, some people say, walk by faith and not by sight. And really, when you come to a whole different country, and you don't,
by myself,
and by yourself, as a lady.
But I'm a gangster. It ain't
Like
that,
I sense the
But
few.
I've met amazing people here. You know, literally.
Yeah.
There's no, you know, I'm literally. This is not a blueprint, and figuring it out as.
But
I
it's
go.
also what you're supposed to do.
Destined to do. Absolutely.
All right, this is my last question.
Yeah.
When it comes to financial literacy, because I think that's an area for us as Black Americans to understand the power that we have with our resources and how to navigate the resources. Obviously, you worked in finance for a while. You have a passion for financial literacy. How can we make that a priority in our hybrid culture versus some of the other things that have seemed to be the priority over generations? What can we do?
Focusing on what's important.
When we come back, the conversation continues. But first, a special message from one of our sponsors. Join Darren and Destiny, twin explorers, on an epic journey across the African diaspora. From Ghana to Tanzania, Ethiopia, Brazil, and beyond. Their adventures uncover the beauty, history, and culture of these countries, changing the way children see the world. Dive into the adventures of Darren and Destiny now.
Focusing on what's important, meaning structuring yourself in a way when it regards to land.
Okay.
Right? God isn't making any more land. You know that's important, right? Saving, right?
Okay.
And investing. You know, I think that we are very scared to invest because we come from a scarcity mindset. And in that scarcity mindset is because you could be a first generation that is creating wealth for yourself. And typically that first generation, a lot of times are afraid to invest in something else because we want to hold the money. Because we're afraid to be broke. We're afraid to be broke. And so we don't want to do business with someone else or invest because we want to hold on to it.
We're afraid to get scammed. We're afraid
to get scammed. And so I think with anything, it's a scarcity mindset. You see a person who has money or awareness of themselves, I'm going to invest in this because I know I can do it. It's white people are designed a little different. They'll invest because they know they can always make money. For us, it's I'm afraid and I have to hold on to what I have. And we don't know how to multiply it, right? So finding product, finding things that work in the financial area, and finding good leadership, people that you can listen to. A lot of people that say they do financial literacy do a lot of gatekeeping. So that you buy into their membership, but they're not really teaching you information. Like, I still walk away. It's almost like a members club, if it makes sense. Right?
I get it.
So sharing accurate information, doing your research, and that's the most that I can say from there.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm here. And this conversation, Jasmine Terry, has been one for the books. I'm sitting here like, I didn't know we were going to go down certain roads. And I know that we didn't talk about that new money mentality. That was something that...
Oh, man, that was a whole nother book.
We had to do part 2. We have to...
Yes, the new money.
The new money mentality. But it's something, it's really good to see other people doing the work. Yeah. I applaud what you're doing. I know it's relatively new for you, but it's not, because all of your years of living prepared you for this moment.
Absolutely.
And it's something that, I meet some of the most amazing people in my travels. Yeah. And just seeing on the continent, whether I'm in the U.S. or I meet some of the most amazing Black Americans on the continent of Africa. And it's something that I appreciate being a part of. And so just know if there's anything that I can do to support what you're doing, you know, as you're discovering it, because I know you're still figuring it out, and you're making the different connections and learning. So if there's anything I can ever do, and I know, I know that you share the same sentiment as far as,
absolutely.
I believe that as other ladies see you, they say, well, you know what, maybe I can explore.
I've had so many women reach out to me, and sometimes in go mode, I don't even realize that I'm just led by faith and spirit.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm supposed to lean in to do this. So, like for New Year's when we had our wish, one of the things is to really lean into the calling that God has for my life, because it's something I can't run from. I can't, I don't feel like it. It's a movement, go, and I'm listening. So likewise to you, if there's any way that I can support you, I'm definitely here to do so. And I think it's important. The most impactful thing is what we're doing right now, because we know what some of the other things are. But taking initiative to want change and to do something completely different is really what set the trajectory for bringing over others. So.
Well, I thank you for taking, because I know we made this happen like in short order.
We absolutely did.
like, look, I'm leaving, but we got to make this happen. But tell everybody where they can find your skincare line. I want you all to make sure you support the skincare line if you're dealing with skin conditions, eczema. I know you talked about that. Give it a try. Talk to your doctors or whatever, however you want to do it. But tell us where we can get more information.
So you can go to holisticrootsskincare.com. That's where you can actually find a lot of the holistic alternative medicines, supplements on the page, on the website. You can follow me on Instagram as well as one Jasmine Terry, and as well as Pink Print Global. I didn't announce what Pink Print Global is, but it's basically being the bridge, bringing over different business opportunities from the U.S. to the continent. So as that strategist, broker, the deal maker, I'll be a great liaison that will not only advocate but support you on your journey of investing into the continent and investing.
A part 2 is coming.
Yeah.
Because we didn't talk about new money, and we need to talk about Pink Global.
Oh, let me get it right for you real quick.
All right, get it right.
It's Pink Print
Pink Print Global.
So if you have a blueprint,
got it.
There's a pink print.
Got it.
And so I want to empower women around the world to do business, to connect with each other, and we do business around the world, global business. That's the focus. So you have a blueprint, Jay-Z, but you have a pink print, which is the focus is connecting women from all over the world to do business.
You heard it from Miss Jasmine Terry.
Yay.
She's here, and make sure that you get all of the details in the description below. Again, I thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
I thank everybody out there for joining. Be sure to follow Jasmine. She gave you all the social media handles, but again, in the description below, make sure you like, subscribe, share this channel, because we're going to continue bringing you more conversations that need to be had. We don't water this thing down. We are unapologetically giving you the information that many people have intentionally kept from us. And so it's no gatekeeping. No gatekeeping here.
No gatekeeping. We're gonna support.
That's it. All right. Until next time, everybody, take care. Be safe.
Open up your eyes.